Hello everyone, my name is Ibal Chana and welcome to a YouTube tutorial on deep learning. In this course, I will try to see about what is deep learning is, how the neural networks work, and then how you can develop your own deep learning models using the Python. During this periods, we try to see step by step with like using real examples and projects. So basically, during the course of the course deep learning, we try to see an overview of various deep learning architectures and learning methods, just like using different deep learning methods. And also, we try to develop the fundamental and practical skills applying deep learning to your research. So basically, maybe your research area will be in different disciplines. So even if you are just like within different research areas, like you have to use deep learning algorithms to try to solve that problem. So we can try to cover like how we can apply or implement deep learning in different research areas or in different disciplines. So this is just the beginning. So next, we try to see just the structure about the courses, and then I will give you some introduction or highlight about the structures, and then I will start on the main course. So the basic course objective of this course, at the end of this course, students will able to just understand the core principles of deep learning. So try to see about what is deep learning in detail about the introduction and what are the application of deep learning. So we try to see this one. And at the end of the course, also students maybe have a capability to build and train neural networks or using like TensorFlow or other programming language. And then we try to students can able to design about the convolutional neural network and recurrent neural network. So this is also the basic deep learning algorithm. So I hope you have just understand about the basics about CNN and RNN. Then also we expect that apply deep learning is to like a type of image-based data, a type of time series data, or for generative models. Actually, data set will be maybe like different types. Some data may be like image-based data. Some data will be like type of time series or sequential data, or just like we can use deep learning for generative models, which means like we can try to generate a data or artificial data by using some real data. So we can just like use deep learning for these purposes. So at the end of the course, maybe it depends on your research. You can apply deep learning for type of image-based data or for type of time series data or for generative models. This will be just expected. And finally, also we can try to evaluate and improve deep learning models. So in order to say that our deep learning model is the best one, so you need to evaluate and improve the performance of deep learning models. So we try to see that how we can improve, how we can just evaluate the performance of deep learning models. So at the end of the course, you can also judge that, or you can determine that our model will be the best one. So during this course, it's just like the main objective of the course will be just like that one. Not only this one actually, but this is just some of objective of the course for deep learning. So in this course will be just like actually structured into different parts. So the topics covered in this course will be just like the first section will be we can try to see the introduction to deep learning. So first we try to start from the introduction parts. So this section will be actually the basic objective is like try to define deep learning and compare it with the machine learning algorithms, because actually maybe you have some understanding about machine learning algorithms. So we can try to see about what is the basic difference between deep learning and machine learning. So this is just actually a basic or fundamental concept that you need to understand about what is deep learning first. And then also we can try to explore different applications and trend of deep learning in different areas. So we try to highlight about the application of deep learning in different areas or disciplines. So the basic topics on this course will be just like, for instance, neural network versus machine learning. And we try to see the overview of the artificial intelligence, machine learning, and deep learning. Actually, the concept of artificial intelligence, machine learning, and deep learning will be interconnected, but have just like a simple, or I mean some difference between the two, especially actually on the boundary of the course. So in the first section, we try to see about this concept. The second section of this course will be we try to see about the tools and frameworks. So in this section, just like the objective of this one is just we try to understand about how we can use TensorFlows in order to write some codes using like Python, and understanding data and hardware pipelines in order to implement or in order to write the code. So basically, this section will be just help us to improve your coding, like using the Python to develop different deep learning models. So in this course, like we try to cover the topics about tensors, datasets, and loaders, how we can just load a dataset, how we can model save, and also like about the Colab, Jupyter, and the GPU usage. So this is just like a technique or the tools to implement deep learning models. We try to see about this concept on the second section. The third section, or section 3, about the neural network foundations. So in this case, just like neural network is the basic or the foundation of actually that's the start about the concept of deep learning. So we'll try to see or understand about what is perception, what is activation, what is like back propagation. So we'll try to cover about this one, and also we can try to build a simple neural network models, this section. So start from what is neuron, what is layers, weights, which is actually the basic components in neural network models. And also, just in order to evaluate the neural network models, we use like different loss functions like mean square error or cross entropy, or there are other performance evaluation techniques. So we'll try to cover about that one. And also the topic about backpropagation and gradient descent. Actually, this is also the one application of neural networks, just in order to minimize the errors. It uses backpropagation and gradient data, just like to minimize the errors of the model. So in section 3, we'll try to cover about these topics. In section 4, we try to see about deep learning architectures or deep architectures. So in this case, actually, we try to see about the detailed concept of like deep learning. So neural network will be just like a simplest structure of deep learning, and then there are other deep architectures. So in this case, just we can try to implement multi-layer models. So the complexity of the model will be increasing. So we try to see about this one. Understand the varnishing gradient of regularization. So actually, when the structure of the model will be just like deep, there is a problem of overfitting problem. So to solve this overfitting problems, we use like different activation functions and regularization. So we'll try to see about in detail about these concepts. So like for instance, deep feed-forward neural networks, or we try to cover about how we can just like what is overfitting and underfitting, how we can solve this overfitting and underfitting problems. Like we use like dropout, like normalization, optimization techniques for in deep learning architectures to solve like overfitting and underfitting problems. So this is also the basic concepts. So in this section, we'll see in detail about like deep learning architectures. Section 5, the topic is about convolutional neural network and CNN. So this is also the one of the most important deep learning models, especially for type of image-based data. So in this section, we try to see what is like convolutional neural networks, and then we try to learn CNN for most specifically for vision tasks, or like a type of image-based, or like for object detection, image detection, object classification, like for this type. So we try to see about different structure of convolutional neural networks, like convolution, polling, and stride is the basic component of convolutional networks. So we try to see this one. And also to train convolutional neural networks, we use like different parameters, how we can tune that parameters to improve the performance of convolutional neural networks. Like maybe we can adjust a transfer learning or the fine tuning, like we try to see this concept is on convolutional neural network. So mostly actually convolutional neural network, not only for like image-based data, but if we use like 1D CNN, still we can use for type of time series data. So we will see this one in detail, like in the section 5. In section 6, we try to see about the concept of RNN and LSTM. So recurrent neural network, actually, when we say that recurrent neural network, that includes like long short-term memory, and GRE also gets recurrent units. So recurrent neural networks is like type of a model that is most specifically used for time series data or sequential data. So the difference from like CNN is for vision or image-based data, and an RNN is for time series data or sequential data. So it depends on your data natures. Maybe you can use like CNN or RNN. So how you can just like identify what type of model will be fit with your data sets. We'll try to see the difference between CNN and RNN. So we try to compare RNN, LSTM, and GRE with like an example of this RNN model. So we try to see about this one. So we try to see what is sequential data, and also this type of RNN model uses like memory source in order to store some information about like the previous data. There is encoder and decoders, and also different application, how we can use RNN, LSTM, GRE for different applications like text generation, forecasting, prediction. Like this is some of the application of RNN and LSTM for time series data. So we'll see this one in section 6. Section 7, there are different deep learning models recently that is used for generative models. So generative models is basically the concept is like generating artificial data that is more similar with the real data. So just like maybe in different situations, maybe it's very difficult to collect real data using from the experiment. So at that time, maybe we can just like try to collect a simulation data by using different generative models. So in this section, we try to see how we can just like GAN or generative artificial neural networks will be an example of generative models. And also variational autoencoder is an example of generative model. So we will try to see about this type of model to generate a simulation data or synthetic data based on or using sample of real data. So in case because of like resource restriction, time restriction, human power restriction, maybe you cannot have enough data for training your deep learning models. So that time you need to use generative models. So we try to see in detail about these concepts and then how we can deploy or develop this generative model. So in this section, actually, we try to see practical examples and also step-by-step deployment of models using like the Python programming language. So I hope maybe you will get like a good information about this deep learning concept. In section 8, then just actually the concept is broad, but just like for now, maybe there will be just like the model is this one. And finally, we try to see real world projects. So how we can implement these models into real world application or in real world projects. So the objective will be just like apply all the concepts to real data. So finally, if you have understand about like different neural networks, about deep architectures, about like CNN, RNN, and generative models, and finally, we try to just hold that concept and then how we can apply this concept into the real data or just like that means in your research. So we can try to do some sample projects like maybe if we use like image classifier if the data set is image based, or time series predictor like if the data set will be just like for instance serial data. So we try to see like for prediction, and for GAN based face generator like for instance if we have sample image for face detection. So based on that, we try to generate into other data. So the last section actually just we can try to see that how we implement these deep learning concepts into real world application. This one basically we try to also see sample or real step-by-step projects in like each sections. Also we try to cover this one and we'll try to see in this section. So for this course we try to use different tools and technologies. So basically the programming language that we try to see for this program will be Python, because Python is like a simple programming language, and right now actually everyone can use like throughout the world, because of actually Python have different libraries, so no need of just writing the code from the scratch. So just you can use some libraries, and which is like easy maybe like when comparing to the other programming language. And also to write this Python program, maybe just like we can use Jupyter or Google Colab. So just as an option, we can try to see about this one. So there is TensorFlow, Keras for implementing or deploying the modules. And we can use different libraries like NumPy, Panda, Matplotlib libraries, and also about CUDA or GPU, just as an information. But for this case, actually, if we use Google Colab, I will show you how we can use a GPU to improve the speed of the training, just like so. I will try to cover about this tool. So basically, for this course, that's just like Python will be the main program language, but you can use also PyTorch or MATLAB also. It can be possible. But basically, for our course, we'll more focus on the Python programming language. Just this is some of the textbooks that just used for as a reference for this course or for about deep learning. So maybe this one will be like the image that shows on the slide will be just like one of the most used reference like within different topics, but you can use also the additional reference, and also we can use just like different video lecture, blog posts, or and papers also. It can be possible. I hope that at the end of this course, everyone maybe can get just like basic information about the introduction of deep learning, and then how you can develop the models like for your research or for your problems. That's just the idea. So just this is a basic introduction about, and also the highlight about how like we can structure the courses for this deep learning course. So in the next section, we try to see the introduction about the deep learning. So we'll continue about that one, some introduction. This is all about the introduction parts, and in the next part, we'll try to continue about the first chapter of the course, which is about the introduction to the deep learning. Thank you very much.